All right, y'all. We're going to get ready to go into breakout rooms. And when we do, this is your chance to just share with your partner. What assets do you want to remind your leader that they have? And what do you want them to remember going into next year? So, Bond, when you're ready, you can go ahead and swoop us.
Enjoy your breakouts. Nima, you're the third person, so you can go or stay. Ben, you're the third person, so you can go or stay.
Great. I'm going to stay here for a second, and then I'll go when I finish the attendance.
Sorry, was that a prompt that I should go somewhere?
No, it was
Oh,
an
okay,
FYI. You are the third person, so you can go or stay.
cool. I'm taking my blood pressure right now, so I'll probably like be disruptive.
As we come back, I need to know who was the genius who named those rooms, because you just made like literally my entire day.
It
That
had to be Bond.
Tony and mine was named Boys to Men.
That was me.
Backstreet Boys.
Whoever was in group 6, I had to get it together because at first you were like, I can't think of another one, but you got there. I got there.
Yes, yes, that was all Bond. It was even a surprise for us. We like all pulled it up and we were like, wait, what? In sync? This is amazing. Uh yes, listen, when she nails it, she nails it. I'll tell you that. Awesome, y'all. Well, we are going to get ready to dive into practice. I would say share that shout out with your person, but don't share it with them today, actually, because we're going to share it with them in their impact ceremony video, which we are really, really excited about. And so with that, I am going to turn it over to Ben for our coaching for possibility practice today.
Yeah, hey everybody. Great to see you. Here's our do now. You're zooming ahead to the future state in which your coachee has an ideal success story completed. And think about where we are now with that success story and rate the current state of your coachee's success story, whether that involves anything having been written or not, on a scale of 1 to 10. And be ready to discuss how you chose your number. Take about, let's say, 45 seconds to come up with that number, and then we'll open it up. Okay, I'm going to ask you to put your number in the chat in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Great. Let's hear from some folks below a 5 as to what they thought about here.
I can go. Um, I thought about all of the really great things that Feeney has been doing in her school in building habits of mind and building systems and structures to move the building forward. Um, I think the hurdle for her will be to name all of it and get it onto paper and really sort through what were the details of that work to make a compelling success story.
Mm,
And I think to feel it in a world where a lot's going on.
yep.
I said 4. I think for Julie and I, it's been on our coaching agenda the past 2 cycles, and we haven't gotten to it because it's just been like kind of crowded out with whatever's top of mind, plus spring success cycle planning that's still ongoing. I said before though, because like she brought it to me after working group and like initiated the planning on it, and so I feel good about just like level of investment there. It's just wanting to make sure that we prioritize it appropriately in coaching to land the plane on it.
Yeah. You can open it up to anybody with any number. What do you imagine? What did you imagine when you were thinking about choosing your number?
I think I chose six, and she has the ideas and knows how to talk them out. But I think we'll need some support in getting artifacts and proof along the way that represents what she said.
Mhm.
I chose five. I think maybe like a couple months ago, it probably would have been like a two or three. I think we had a bump up to a five because we got like a better vision of excellence in terms of like working together, using the power of the bright spot, momentum moving forward. I think there's been just a little bit of still inconsistency. And so it's like we're halfway there. But I think with more consistency, we could get to like the 7, 8 range.
Yeah. And you anticipate that consistency is ahead of you?
I think if I do a better job as a coach, I can get them there.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, definitely like seeing in some folks, your toughest moment from coaching, right? That a lot of it is actually about consistency of attendance and getting people to actually like show up consistently as well as focus consistently. So I don't want to trivialize that that can be an upward battle. Um, Anybody else before we shift the question and talk about how they came up with their number?
I Jess Strong gave me a good push around making sure that we use the last couple of coaching meetings to just do the work. And I think in the past we've been so focused on coaching as let's continue problem solving, let's continue coming back to the data, what else is coming up for you? And then we get to June and we are in a panic. We haven't done anything with the story yet. And so what I did today in a coaching meeting was just open up the document, start putting ideas in with the coachee. And that was really helpful.
Yeah, terrific. Yeah. So let's talk about the coach's role in getting this number higher. So what is a coach supposed to do in order to do this? Uh, Easy enough. Go back to the coaching habits and answer the question. So what could a coach do to get this to a 10 from whatever number you gave? Uh, I'll give you about 20 seconds to think on that question, and then I'll open it up. Okay, what are we thinking?
I picked a five, and one of the things that I was thinking about is we have like a running draft right now, but it at that moment, I think what I was thinking about is once we had all this draft in was like this leans really technical, and what actually got to the work done was so much more adaptive. And so I'm thinking a lot about how this can be an opportunity to reflect on the get concrete to reveal the bright spots and back map. And if I were to ask the question this year in orientation, imagine your team reading this success story. What are the things that you would want them to transfer the most? And I'd be curious what that first comes up with. And then to ask the question, have we captured those things here? And how do we tell that story so that people feel the most clear they've ever been when they leave orientation?
Yep.
I'm thinking a lot about potentially on the flip side to what Emma just named is leaning into one and two, in both thinking about how they see this work bleeding into their orientation for next year, so that they can be telling whether it's the story of the ideal that happened this year or that like I know the prompt we've used before that I really love is like what's that like headline in the newspaper that is going to be present of the work that you did this year, and then quickly pivot into okay, great, let's get concrete. What were all those moves that you put in this whole year that you put in, your team put in, kids put in, so that they can get to number five of doing the work, so that there can be this adaptive aspect of them feeling inspired around the pie in the sky work that they truly did, and then get really concrete.
I thought about those, and then I also wondered about Habit 4 too. Just as alumni of the fellowship, being able to say like, here's how the success story was really impactful for me in my work and my school leadership, as a way to like reground in rationale.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben. You can tell me not now.
No.
Jamie, I want to build because I was on Habit 4 too. I recently had a coachee say to me, like, doing this, I thought it was like, I literally, like, I heard all the things you said and I thought it was going to be like for the program, but I've used it so much to like spread the practices in my own PD. So it's almost like helping them live Habit 4, which is a little bit meta, which is like actually the hook, I think. Which is so that's kind of what I'm noodling around.
That's great. So we answered this question last year with a fishbowl that I did with Catherine, actually, on her success story. We have that on video, and we're going to show that to you to give you something to chew on with this question. One thing that might help you, because the video doesn't have the chat running simultaneously, screenshots of what we're doing in the chat are here in the link I just posted. And so you can go ahead and open that up. But really, like, how does how does a success story conversation in coaching get this to a 10? And what is it that you learned from watching this video? And Jess, whenever you're ready.
Amazing. Here we go. Okay, one. Let's see. And then Bond, I can see your face. Just give me a thumbs up when I hit this if you can hear my sound.
Catherine,
Hey.
I got to look at your current draft of this.
Yeah.
Tell me where you think it's at right now.
It took me to like January o'clock to get to here because I was crying every time I did it, and I'm a little shaky today in thinking about it because of like I'm so proud of all the work we did. I feel like I have codified all of the pieces. Like that took forever to get to, but I think it's not yet clear enough. It's not yet like succinct enough, right? Like what's the heart of Brick? But the elements are here. And I think the story and the message is here.
Yeah. I'm very excited to have this conversation with you because I'm moved by how much this moves you. Of course, that's how you feel about this. And of course, it's like an incredibly complicated, sad scenario to look at this way. But
Yeah, it's
it's
actually
just,
really cool on the back end though.
yeah. So tell me why.
The things we did are carrying into people now. And I think with everything, like I'm thinking about what the conversations I'm having with coachees, things that are happening in our own network here, like this message is incredibly relevant to leaders.
Absolutely.
This is like a story about emotional energy management, and like at the end of it, right? Like you have to like, how do we help people navigate this?
Yeah. Terrific. Yeah.
And still win for kids.
I think yeah, similar feeling to when, Jess was under similar circumstances and we could just feel like there was no better thing that could have happened alongside a school closure than like what your leadership did. So I think where I really do want to focus on making this a more specific and linear story is by asking questions about that. So what I specifically want you to think about is just like why the heck we're doing success stories at AMA, right? AMA as a program is theory of action around proof pointing. So that's why we work with like a school leader or a key network leader rather than say taking on a whole system, is that we believe we can get a narrow band of success that is truly remarkable out of one sort of slice of the pie, and that will influence everybody else around it. And so we're not really optimizing for that unless we can tell stories of what went well that people are going to pay attention to and learn from. So I want you to actually really mention that in your sort of answer to this question. Imagine it's like, multiple years in the future, at least a year from now, let's say, and you are watching a group of leaders make sense of this story, and they're pulling away key lessons from this story, right? So, and imagine that at AMA too, that our fellows are learning something specific by reading this. What do you think it is that's most important for them to learn?
I'm looking at that habits of mind posted here at the wall that I'm looking at. I'm like, you said something that sticks out to me is that like the impossible always happens here, and impossible happened first and foremost because we just, no matter what was happening on the good days and the bad days, we never lost focus. We had a very crystal clear focus on what we were doing as a school and like the one or two things that were 100% going to drive that. And that the way we executed on it might have shifted, but like we were doing this. Something came up, we were still doing this. Something came up, we were still doing this. And I think that's huge. I would also say that to me is the biggest one, but then I think the levers that we pulled that caused that to be the thing was like, I just said radical problem solving is our school leader meeting, period, full stop. And we're going after the focused thing over and over again in an RPS model, 100% of the time, every week, steady Eddie. And like that kind of thinking became the norm for our leaders. And then it was the leading believers work. And I think you'll see in the story, like I do a lot of like visual storytelling anyway. I love to like show people what we're doing. But like the macro structures and the micro moments in the building were so consistently about like, this is what we're doing. 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 Look, we did it. Look at this one. Look at this kid here. Look at this teacher here. Look at us. We're all doing stuff we didn't do yesterday. And like over and over and over again, moving toward that. Like it was deep enough that literally like 2 weeks ago, I sat down with a teacher and she was like, gosh, I'm in my new school and it's like, it's fine. It's good. Like, but it's not the same because like, I don't know exactly what we're chasing. And then she told me back all of these things. This was a teacher who was a first-year teacher in our building. And it was clear enough that like, well, this is just how we do stuff. This must be the way.
Yeah.
Like I think about like the Mandalorian picture.
Yeah.
This is the way.
It's the way.
Literally used that at one point. This is the way.
Great. Okay. So like that was obviously quite inspiring, and I'm very easily visualizing leaders learning from that very clear picture you painted of how this all unfolded. What was it your team literally achieved that isn't expected under the circumstances? And I want you to answer that question as if it's like a front page news headline, right? So it could be, while blank X occurred, or X occurred that hadn't occurred before. What is the actual outcome that people need to like note here?
Can I say something that's not super professional first?
Yeah.
To front load this?
Yeah.
So they told us our charter was not like we got approved to get a different type of charter, and then we did not make it through that process because of historic results, not our results. So when we had the meeting at the end of the day, we basically said, we're still going after this goal, and it's going to be a 2-finger salute to these people at the end of the year. And it was 100% a 2-finger salute.
Yeah.
From the entire team. Like that was inappropriate, but rallying cry.
Yeah.
For the building. And what we ended on was we didn't quite hit like our actual, we had a 20% proficiency goal. My school's a turnaround school and it had been struggling for a really long time. But we doubled our proficiency results from the prior year. And we moved from a school that was like a little bit better than the surrounding schools to double their results too. We hit level 5 growth as a school, so it's the highest level of growth outcomes. We tore it up in math specifically. Like we were actually, by the time of our 3rd round of IAs, we were the 2nd highest performing school in our network, in a school where the story has always been, we are the bottom. We're the worst school in the network and no one expects us to do any better. We rolled over, like we inverted the school had been hemorrhaging staff. We inverted the hemorrhaging. Our network was able to commit to positions for people who are like in good standing. And when I read this story, like, okay, we're at like 75-80% retention in a school where 60% of the team was new to the building the prior year.
Okay.
And by the way, most of them were new to education. So like we did it in the conditions with people who were just green.
Yeah.
Like they were not, this is like an example of like the will over skill.
Yeah.
Being a triumph. And then we took 1/3 of the kids with us into other schools in the network. So we also had like student retention and like every satisfaction, qualitative, quantitative measure improved. People felt the happiest they've ever been in the place.
Yeah. Amazing. So if you do want, let's imagine you want future AMA leaders and future leaders at LEAD to get their eye caught by this headline. What are you going to write? And type it in the chat.
And honestly, this is where I'm struggling because I'm like, I don't know what the headline's going to be. I think it's just like, because so many of the stories are like, they're this small piece. I'm like,
yeah,
this is a total overhaul.
Yep. So I'm going to start like making it a real headline here.
Please.
Imagine, like,
I need some inspo here.
Yep. So struggling school, like a mid closure threat, struggling school. I want you to finish the sentence. Yeah, great. Okay, so here's what I'm going to tell you this specific success story is. It is that headline. So mid-closure threat, struggling school wins it all. Write it down. Tell me when you got it.
I screenshot it.
Then underneath, you're going to have the top heading describing all those concrete results that we listed. So they're above in the chat: double proficiency results from the prior year, double proficiency in comparison schools, level 5, from the bottom to 2nd highest in math, the staff results. That's your first heading. And then underneath that, you're going to go and copy and paste all the things that I wrote in the first question as new headings. So impossible always happens here. Power of focus. 1 to 2 things driving everything. Staying a focused course no matter what. And imagine all of those are the headings of new paragraphs in the success story.
Okay. And then add the evidence.
Yeah. And what I'm going to ask you to do is, between now and our next coaching meeting, for each of these headings, you're going to write 3 to 5 sentences explaining what this is and give at least 1 to 2 examples so people can see what the tools you used look like. And we are going to do the first one right now to make sure that we understand how this works.
Okay.
Great. And scene. Thanks, Catherine.
All right. So back to the Nearpod. How does this fishbowl suggest we respond? What is the coach's job?
I think I think the coach's job is to help remind the leader that they are leaving a legacy either in individuals or in a school building or in a network. Like they are leaving a continued path. And so it's almost like obligatory that they leave, that they like really carve that out the right way and narrate that the right way for other people.
Right. And I would say, regardless of network, school, et cetera, for AMA fellows, that's a huge perspective that we're bringing to this. Is like you did things that we want other folks to believe are possible and
Yeah.
shoot for themselves. Yeah.
Highest of levels, what you did to get Catherine there is just more of a blueprint for, I mean, coaches help coachees get out of their bubble and like reflect things back to them so they can think. I mean, anytime you like reflect something back to someone and make them listen to what they just kind of said or um, say things back. It's just a push to get us to not think within the confines of like, I'm here at my campus, this is the day-to-day life, like this is how we do things, this is how we think. It just pushes people to kind of expand their scope of thinking, which then like gets them excited and then ideas start coming naturally.
Mm, well said.
This might feel too simple, but I think the way you ended that meeting is like you've gotten to clarity where we know that what the success story is. And so we're like in the place of how do we shape the path or remove a barrier towards like now how do we write it on paper? Because I could also see a world where like I end a meeting once I write the headline and I'm like, yes. And it's like we just found the feeling and we just found the bit. And so like the fact that you're pairing that with we've already identified the major headlines that need to be true. In order to now teach this to other people, you need to be clear. You need to actually cite examples for context. So let's practice one of these right now. Means that Catherine is more ready when leaving to go do that again and again and again. So
Great.
it's a
Yeah.
place I would often miss. So thank you.
No, I think it's actually quite important to really start thinking about what happens after this meeting and what is the likelihood of this impacting their work outside this meeting, and how do I raise that likelihood? Great. Yeah, so going back to the Nearpod, here's how we thought about setting this up. So it's constant interaction between habits 1 and 2 and habit 5. Noting, speaking from what the program is actually tasking you with. So what we are doing here with AMA is about many things, but a huge part of the theory of change is that if we have enough proof points of this actually happening, we are specifically charting a path for others to do the same. Like very specifically, we are naming for people who struggle to do things under these circumstances like this, that they can in fact do that and they should. And so really speaking from the heart and soul of this organization and what we're trying to do there. So that's what I wanted to do with that first prompt. Said, our fellows need to learn from you. So what is it that you believe they ought to learn from you? And then get really clear about the proof points for this and write it down. Make sure they're looking at it. I think it's important to model that if what the deliverable here is a written product, what the process is going from thought to writing. So you're asking this big question, you're answering it, you're writing it down. Then what is it that sort of substantiates this? What are our actual data achievement headlines here? And so you can see I try to use a pretty provocative thought on headlines, newspaper headlines, like you said, Jonathan. This is a way to get people in a frame of mind that they are not sort of under underrating the ambition and uh, I think like importance of what they've done. And so again, what did the team accomplish for children that others would want to accomplish? And then, really simple, using those two things to talk about what it took. So what was involved in doing this? And oftentimes this is going to result in specific approaches, techniques, habits of mind that they learn directly from AMA. And there you have it. That is the skeleton, that is the outline, and the rest is filling in explanations and examples. Questions about any of that? Great. Yeah, I'm glad for that chat, Jess. I think like the importance of what we do, if everybody thinks back to the earliest moments of March Intensive that you experienced, thinking about what it meant to see leaders who've done this before you talk about what they've done, what it means to see things live, concretely, that are accomplishing the things you thought you maybe couldn't do. This is contributing to that and letting people know like that experience that you had, you are now a part of giving that experience to the next crew. And we need that from you. This mission needs that from you. All right, so we're going to practice. You are going to spend a little bit more time than usual sort of prepping your partner to be your coachee. So giving them some context around like what they might say in answering these questions. Feel free to be explicit there. You don't need to have them do a lot of intellectual work to pretend to be your coachee. Then you'll dive into practicing this format. And please do use the chat or something to make sure that the writing piece is getting translated live. I think that's easier than drumming up a shared doc that you will exchange between each other. And then be ready to spotlight some people right after we're done there. So I will say, let's imagine that you need like a full minute each to prep before going into the actual live role play. So we'll have a minute to get you settled. The role play doesn't need to take a ton of time because you're kind of going through a muscle memory task. These are fairly like explicit, simple procedures. So we'll do 5 minutes for that. And then we'll do another minute for you to prep the other person, and then another 5 minutes there. And so we'll take this, I think, like a total of 13 minutes, and we'll call out the switches when it's time. Bond, are we good to put people in pairs? All right, let's kick it.
Nima, will you go in the room with Stacy and Angel in case she has to leave?
Hey, everybody. Great. Super fun to watch. Who should we be looking at? Who can give us a moment to replay in front of the crew? Put your nominees in the chat, please.
I mean, Boys to Men coming right out the gate.
Do it, Jamie.
Let's make sure we give everybody else a chance to nominate some people. Great. All right, you'll think of some more. Uh, Jonathan, what do we need to see from Jamie?
I really appreciated how Gooder almost like flipped the order and made me get concrete and then started pulling back to then be like, and what story are you telling from that work? And it was a pretty cool remix of how he flexed that.
Great. Can we start? And Jonathan, will you let us know when we've seen it, when we're done?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Jonathan. I'm going to fast forward through my like framing around success story. So, what was it that you feel like you would want somebody reading about as far as like what your team achieved this year that typically isn't expected at a school like Forte Prep?
Yeah, I mean, you know who I am, so the data isn't yet where it needs to be holistically. And as I think about specifically our students with IEPs, the fact that they have grown the most that they have ever since the existence of our school is pretty epic. And going from a 30% differential to 15 is just something I'm really, really proud of. And again, they're not yet where they deserve to be, and it just feels really good about that. And some of the inputs that connect to those student outputs for literacy, at least, was our focus around our weekly data meetings to break down goals. We were really focusing on those goals and what data was coming up from that, and then getting in the classroom as leaders to observe the reteaches that came from those meetings. And so just intentionality is something that's coming top of mind.
Yeah, you're making my job easy here. I was going to go from data to like, what do you feel like the actions were that led to that data? But you named it right there. And I want to just encourage you, like 30% to 15% is incredible growth. And so even if you didn't yet hit your target, like there's a ton to celebrate in there. So, all right, well then let's zoom back out then. Let's say it's a year from now, and our fellows need to learn something from your experience. Looking at what I just put in the chat, both from data and inputs, what is it that you would want them to take away based on what you just shared?
Yeah, if I could sum it up, it'd be sweat the data, observe the reteach.
Great.
And
Good.
that's it. Scene.
Fantastic. So crisp. All right, let's see Angel and then we'll close out.
Angel, who is your partner?
It's
Nima.
like okay. Great.
That's
And
me.
Nima, tell us what we want to see.
Angel does a nice job helping me to build my headline by giving me an entry point that aligns to who I am, which is a mechanic who has an Instagram account. And she helps me to really think and think about the data that I do have and how to keep finding the wins in it.
Cool. And let us know when we're done.
Okay. My coachee is a millennial, so I approached it from that viewpoint. Okay. So Delgado, I want you to imagine you are about to post on your very popular Instagram account about your AMA win.
Mm-hmm.
And you are going to summarize all of these bright spots that we just talked about. And what is going to be the caption of this photo of your favorite kid who was impacted by all of the things that you did this year? What is that caption going to be?
Yep. Some kind of like alignment story of, I'm just gonna speak aloud. I don't have a clean caption yet. But it's like this like same incredible kid and sharper alignment, stronger performance, more confidence behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then connecting that to kind of all the different parts, the engine, like, all the pieces that we did to make this happen for this kid, and really telling a story of the work that we do here at Environmental to know the individual stories of our students, and then to help them build towards their personal ideal and our school goals, because one of our schools is under watch for specifically for students with disabilities, and we were able to make good growth on attendance for that demographic group, and so I want to help weave all of it together.
Yeah. And the caption is just like the clickbait. That is going to be the thing that gets people to read the story so that they can get inspired to take the steps that you took so that they can make the change at their school.
Great.
I love it.
Scene.
Yeah. I mean, it's such fun that it obviously, like, you can point to those bells and whistles for somebody to kind of fasten to. But I think it is an extension of a principle that we really do need to constantly rely on, which is that when somebody is not getting the clarity they need, our ability to tighten the concreteness of our questioning often gets them there. And tightening in the direction of their individual preferences is, I mean, a huge asset, and why context matters at AMA. Great. Okay, I'm over time, so I'll just say this specifically. I think you should do this approach within your next 1 or 2 coaching meetings. I think it's critical for getting them on the right path with their success story, which will also get them on the right path with the work to fulfill the success story. So I think this is a huge lever, and I hope you all can use it really soon and report back to us on how it's going. Thank you all.
Thanks, Ben. Thank you. Thank you. Always good to be in community with you and to dive into practice. So, friends, we're going to take a 10-minute break. I have a Collaborate board up just to let you know what we're coming back to. You can choose to do it now if it feels better, or you can choose to do it right when we get back. But based on this practice and everything that we've just talked about, what message are you going to share with your coachee about the importance of the success story? So again, we're coming back to that after the break, but if you want to capture your thoughts while they're fresh, feel free to dive in, and we'll see everybody at the 23. And then Bond, is it possible to throw me and you and Ben in a quick breakout room?
I'm going to open them and we can self-select into room 1.
Great. Man, that was a quick break, but a good debrief. We just came up with so many ideas of how to leverage the brilliance of this group as we continue to support our leaders. So when you are ready, go ahead and come back. Feel free to bring your snacks. I just housed my tacos that got delivered while I was here. Catherine, is there more to your lunch today than that skinny pop?
It's Teacher Appreciation Week, so the whole building is full of food. So yes, there will be more to my lunch. This was just what I got by walking across the hall to the cafeteria because somebody walked by with a treat trolley.
Great, great. Part of our standing agenda items when I was coaching Catherine was, what have you eaten today? And how can we solve that? Because it was always like a Kit Kat bar and a
peanut M&Ms.
A peanut, there it is. I'm like, it was some sort of candy.
It was peanut M&Ms. I'm not doing great this week, Jess. I'm going to be honest, but I'm happy for this meeting so I can eat something.
There you go. We're going to do it. All right, y'all. As promised, we're coming back to this Collaborate board. If you've not already solidified your thoughts, let's go ahead and jump in there. We'll take about 3 minutes. If you've already put your thoughts in here, take 3 additional minutes of a break if you need it. But what message are you going to share with your coachee about the importance of the success story? So go ahead and drop it when you're ready and then take a look. Hmm. Mhm. Thanks everybody for dropping those thoughts in here. Um, we were really we were reflecting just now just on the practice and things that we were taking away and how incredibly exciting it is to think about like of this community of coaches, like how many leaders to learn from and codified stories like exist already amongst this group of the work that you've done and the power in using those also as like proof points of like this movement, like these stories really do continue to build this movement. Like here is we think about the different ways and places that these stories have shown up, whether that is March Intensive, whether that's in our alumni quarterly, and they're being used across the country. I just had a leader in C6 tell me she was using, she was pulling from an artifact from Jonathan Bracco. It wasn't a leader to learn from, but it was like still a codified artifact. And so just thinking about the power of the ways that we can elevate how we use these stories. And so, Gooder, I saw your point in here about connecting it back to March Intensive and the experience they have of hearing from others. Anything anyone wants to put in the space about this or that's still sitting with them before we move ahead? I mean, Emma, I'd love if you don't mind your quote. Like, can you just speak to it a little bit? Because I love this difference between the implementation plan and what people are learning to replicate.
Yeah, I think part of it's the context of where we are in the authoring process. And so, like, I was trying to figure out, like, we've done a bunch of work on this already. And so, how do we now make sure that we think about the lens of the headline we want to tell? And I think, like, from coaching over the years, from my own experience, one of the like things I think is tricky is that you often can read something and say, great, how can I now just like go run with this here? Or I'm going to try something similar. And I think the difference between asking people to get up on the balcony and think a little bit more about like what was the transformational change that happened, like that's the replicable thing we want people thinking about in the movement. And so I was just, I don't know. I don't have a clear thought yet, but it's something around like people may or may not implement your literacy intervention block, but they will think about the choices that your team made in your best and hardest moments and think about what that looks like in their context. So that's actually what we need to capture next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something no, I appreciate like you. Yeah, I appreciate you putting the thinking in the space. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, y'all, for all your work in practice and your really thoughtful reflections. I am leaving myself kind of feeling reinvigorated about the story that our leaders can tell and how we have the opportunity and the privilege to help them see that story and kind of reflect it back to them when they're struggling to see it themselves. Awesome. So as we head into the second part of our time together, we're going to ground ourselves in our two major goals. Because as we've talked about quite a bit in the last few months, these two primary program goals really sit on the shoulders of us as a coach community to get folks across the finish line, both with shrinking a differential or, if they are a system leader, building a more equitable system and producing the success story. And what we have found in the past, and I think this year we are going to be poised to be in an even stronger place with it, is it's challenging sometimes to get leaders across the finish line on a success story. And so the reason we're talking about this now is because it's going to creep up on us real quick. We might have 4 coaching sessions left. Some of us might have 3 coaching sessions left. And so thinking about, as much as we're chasing the first goal, how do we also prioritize our time chasing the second goal and really codifying those proof points as we continue to build a movement? So just wanted to share a data update. Whoop, whoop. Hello, data and goals. We continued to make progress in just the success cycle planning. Again, we know this is one snapshot because folks have plans in different places. And so these numbers might not be reflective of every single leader and the work that they've done. It might be a little higher, but we've got 78% with a really clearly codified goal in their plan, 73% with a change team plan. We're at 57 on RPS and 54 on reorientation. So shout out to you all for continuing to make moves on the plan itself as you are implementing or as your leaders are implementing, because we continue to gather more and more data about what folks are doing. And just thinking back, these are our April priorities for coaching that look a lot like our March priorities for coaching because hashtag no new things right now. Yes, Catherine, that was her motto as well. We've been just in the progress monitoring, problem solving, momentum building on spring success cycle, whether that's in the weekly planning template, leveraging the biweekly data template, thinking about how we're pulling in RPS and all the tools that we have in our toolbox. So we've been going hard on that in April. And before we take some time to kind of round up where we are and problem solve together, just putting one plug in for our data systems that we need your support with. Because quite frankly, Nima and I both this week were like, oh, snap, I forgot to check the box. And it looks like my person has not actually been in coaching. And yeah, they have. So we know that this happened to us on a few folks. We're imagining it might happen to you all. So just double check when we have a minute to round up data in a second. Just open up your leader's dashboard. And this is going to do 2 things. 1, it's going to help us have accurate data. 2, it's going to help you see, are there any makeup coaching sessions that you have that you could leverage between now and the end of June with your people? Like I know that I have at least 1, if not 2 sessions with one of my leaders. And so we're getting really creative. When do you need an extra 30 minutes somewhere to work on XYZ? Do you want me to join the leadership team meeting when you're RPSing this thing so that I can like support you in the moment with the data? So this is not only going to give us clean data, but it's also going to let you think about, do I have extra time that I need to make up with my leader? And how might I get flexible and innovative with that, knowing that it might not look like I just put another 45-minute session on the books. It might look like I get creative in other ways to support. So in a moment, you're going to have some time to round up, and that's just one thing that we would love for you to take a look at when you do. So before we go into problem solving, kind of here is our framing. So thank you. There were multiple coaches who submitted a problem of practice after last coach community that said like, here was the most challenging part of that most recent coaching session. And 3 of the trends that came out of those were 1, I'm just struggling to get my coachee in session in coaching right now because there's a ton going on and I need to think innovatively about how to get them in coaching. A second was a problem that we're familiar with, which is there's a lot of competing priorities right now. And my coachee keeps coming to session wanting to talk about other things. and I'm struggling to like keep making traction on our actual like program targets. Another was like, for a variety of reasons, there's like a change in role for this person. Maybe they're changing networks, maybe they're changing positions. And it's like, how do I keep them focused and grounded in what we're trying to achieve and invested in a success story when their like brain is starting to think about a whole new chapter? And the last bucket, this is one that we as an AMA team were thinking a lot about recently that we want to bring to this space, which is that for our coaches who are coaching network folks who might be working on the building an ecosystem goal, we want to get really clear as a team on how we define success for that ecosystem work and ensure that it indeed is driving at outcomes for all kids, and will help them achieve the goal. So these were the challenges. So in a moment, once we give you some time to round up and think, we're going to open up breakout rooms. There's going to be 8 breakout rooms open. There's 4 scenarios here. If you want to problem solve around coaching attendance, you're going to select room 1, competing priorities, room 2, change in roles, room 3. If you are coaching a network or district person, we're going to ask that you go to room 4, and we're going to problem. So Nima is going to lead that group just in defining success for that. And if you want a thought partner to just problem solve something that's not on this screen, pick one of the other rooms and someone will partner up with you. Okay. So that's what's coming. Now, before we get there, we're going to give you some time to think and prepare. Again, you're going to look at your coachee's dashboard and you're going to just say, do I have all my attendance checked off? Do I have any time that I can flex and make up with my leader? The second thing we're going to ask you to do to prepare for this, if you have not already, you can click on the link in the Nearpod and it's going to open you up to the artifact dashboard, where we asked folks to think about what is it going to take for your leader to meet these 2 goals by the end of June. And so the second thing we're going to ask you to do to prepare for problem solving is to define this in the artifact dashboard. I know, balloons, it used to be lasers, it's all over the place with these Zoom things. So you're going to check your attendance, you're going to go here and you're going to get grounded in the ideal for your leader. If you've already grounded in the ideal, you're going to think about the next thing, which is if they don't win, if we don't get there, what most likely got in the way? And what can I do about that? And that's going to prep you to go into problem solving with a teammate. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to be quiet. Are there any clarifying questions about what you're going to do in these few minutes of preparation before we go into problem solving rooms? Magnificent. If you start to work on it and you're like, I actually do have a question, you can pop off mute and ask me and we'll be good to go. We're going to take until the 43 to just start getting your mind right in those 2 areas, attendance and the ideal. And then at the 43, we're going to open up some breakout rooms. Feel free to go off camera. What we're going to do now is you're going to take a moment to decide which room that you want to join or need to join. If you end up in room 5, 6, 7, or 8 because you want to problem solve something that's not listed here, I'm just going to ask that you all look to see, is somebody else in one of those rooms too, so that we can partner up. Otherwise, I will also try to pop around if there's anybody that is solo to make sure you got a thought partner. But at this moment, go ahead and when you are ready, just choose your problem solving room. We are going to have 10 minutes in this room to plan for how we're going to get things over the hump. And it's totally okay if you can't figure out how to pick your own room. I'm happy to move you. Just let me know.
And Jess, you said if we have a district or network leader, so like Dr. Emily, go to room 4, or just if we can't figure out, like, we're not sure how they would shrink a differential.
Yeah, go to room 4 just because we're going to talk about because she's kind of working on the ecosystem work.
Okay.
Okay. Where did Dami go? Dami is room 5. Hey.
Hi, sorry, just come back from using the restroom. How do I get into a breakout
All
room?
good, all good. You just hit the breakout room button at the bottom, and then you choose the room that feels right based on the challenge that you would like to problem solve. Or you can go into room 5 with Dami if it's not something listed on the options.
Great. I'm embarrassed. I'm not seeing the breakout room option.
Totally fine. I can move you. Would you like to go to room
I
1,
think it
2,
was, I think it
3?
was 2.
Competing priorities?
Yes.
Okay, Amaze. I'm going to put you in 2. I'm actually going to put you in 1 with Catherine, mostly because there's no one there either. So you all are going to problem solve together. It's just going to be separate problems.
Great. We'll crush it.
I know you will. Dami, I was getting ready to come to you, but then I was also like, maybe we can do it in here too, because I was wondering if we were going to have people stuck in the room.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
New Schools Venture Fund Conference. Her and Lindsay are out in San Francisco with some folks.
It's gonna be great. Thank y'all for leaning in there. Want to give us a moment to just like pause and synthesize a takeaway from that problem solving, because you may have talked about quite a few things. So on the Collaborate board, just take the next minute. Like, what's one thing that you're taking away from that problem solving conversation? Mm. Yeah, Gooder, I'm wondering about, I know Ramya couldn't be here today, but wondering about if Julie and Nick go after kind of a joint success story.
Yeah, and Nima and I talked about connecting too with Justin and just putting all the minds together.
Yeah, totally.
Jamie, I could see them going on a different format of it too that we use with ECS this year. So I'll email that to you too to see if that spikes some interest.
Awesome. As you continue to, Lindsay Cruz is here. Okay.
That would be me.
It's like, that might be me from yesterday. Sorry.
I was like, AMA joined the Zoom room. Lindsay Cruz is in the Nearpod. It is hocus pocus around here in May. No, as you all drop those final thoughts, I just want to put some gratitude and appreciation for this group in this space, because there have been multiple moments, both from like the conversations that I was just a part of and listening to Jonathan like reflect, watching Feeney leverage her relationship with, or Catherine leverage her relationship with Feeney, Angel bringing her knowledge of Delgado into practice in a way that is like, you all have just invested so much in the leaders and are leveraging those relationships in so many incredible ways to support them in their work. So I just want to put a moment of gratitude in the space for that. So thank you. All right. We are going to move into May priorities and preparing for coaching in this last bit of time that we have left together today. So when we think about coaching for possibility, we are finally getting to the finish and the follow through. This is where we have the opportunity to support our leaders in remaining committed and steadfast to the goals that they've set, to the priorities that they're chasing in service of all kids, and to get those things to come to fruition, both for their own for the benefit of their own like reflection and efficacy as a leader, but also the communities they serve. And so we're going to give you a couple of minutes. We saw Catherine's 1.0 version of her success story, and we got to watch the coaching. But I don't know that everyone's had a chance to check out the actual final product that we published recently. Impossible always happens here. Facing closure, a struggling school wins it all. You heard that headline in the coaching that Ben did. So we want to give you a little bit of time to look both at an exemplary final product. And then also, you've seen these resources before. This is like a guide to a success story. It's what we shared with leaders, and then the template. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to just explore these resources and consider your coachee. And Bon gave me some helpful like feedback and reminder about like the power of manifestation and visualizing success and what it looks like and getting really concrete about that. And so going to give you a few moments to explore the resources, including this like example of an ideal. And then just want you to take a couple minutes to really get concrete and imagine what is your coachee going to be feeling and saying when they've completed a success story that documents their year one journey. And so we'll take until about 05. It's not going to be a ton of time to just get in this doc and really get clear on what you want your leader feeling and saying. Yeah, my bad. I thought about that, Catherine. I should have told you ahead of time that we were going to be spotlighting this today. Please accept my dearest apologies.
I'm also dropping in the chat some of the stories Emma shared or referenced in the network district group.
Great.
Lizzie and environmental.
Amazing. All right, so we'll take till the 06 to just get a moment to explore one of those docs.
The environmental one is actually 2 docs, so I'm going to drop the other one in response to what Nima added.
I know that was not a ton of time, and there were some awesome stories and resources there for you. But would love if there's just anyone, I'm not going to ask you to share your manifestation and what you really visualized for your leader, but would love to hear, is there anything that you saw in one of the stories that is really resonating with you or that you feel like you could leverage with your leader as you were thinking about the drafting of their success story? Just any resonances, anything that you're taking away.
It was from Catherine's. I hadn't seen hers in a while. And as I think about the along the way section, the true arc of the year was just so helpful to see. And the more and more I've done this work, the level of vulnerability of like, it's not always this upward trajectory. It's like, yep, some things go well. And then like, yep, stuff goes like super downhill. And then we find some small bright spots. Just really appreciate, especially as I was reading like the denial section in the February when stuff hit the fans. First, just a ton of gratitude to you, Catherine. And I just think a lot about the power of how that authentic story arc of the year can have on leaders as they're going into this.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate that. And appreciate all of the leaders in this call that have got a leader to learn from out there that folks are learning from and continuing to be proof points. So thank you for that. All right. Our May priorities for coaching look largely like our April with the addition of drafting the success story. And so you are going to have a few moments to just think about your agenda for your upcoming coaching sessions and think about, given where your leader is with their success, your spring success cycle goal and data, and given that you are going to try to draft the success story, how might you best structure your time in these upcoming sessions that you have in the month of May? So, going to give you not a ton of time right now, but let's just take about 2 minutes just to solidify any thoughts you have on your upcoming agenda based on everything that we've talked about and done today. So we'll just take till the 11, and you can take note wherever is most helpful for you. All right, y'all. Hopefully that 2 minutes was helpful, at least in solidifying what you need to do next to get ready for our May coaching sessions as we get ready to round out this year with our coachees. So in looking ahead, this is largely not changed. We are in the final stretch. Our goal is that, and in June, we'll talk about a bit more how to really leverage our closeout sessions in June with people. It's still going to be focused on getting their success story drafted, but it's also going to include just prepping them for their closeout with AMA, which is going to happen in the summer and the fall as they get their end of year data. So we'll come back to that next month to talk a little bit more just about other closeout items, but really our goal right now is to get them across the finish line on both their success story and their spring success cycle goal. Say that 5 times fast. If you coach a principal, the other thing that's coming down the pipe is their end of year staff survey. And so we're not going to talk a ton about it right now because not everyone in this room coaches principals. So know that if you do, you're going to get a separate email from me just with more information about when that data is coming and how to unpack it with leaders. Because it is a really valuable tool as they are thinking about both the bright spots and the wins of this year, and as they're thinking about planning for next year, their orientation, values they want to reinforce, etc. So know that that is coming from me. In June and July, holy smokes, you're going to close out coaching with your folks and you're going to tee them up for that AMA closeout conversation that we will have. They have already had their last working group. Again, we've got impact ceremony in May on the 21st that we hope to see as many of you there as possible for at least a portion of it. I know your leaders would love to see your faces. And again, as we look ahead, we'll talk more about it next month, but they're going to close out with you in June in coaching. And then through the months of July to about September, you will tee them up for a closeout with us, which is where we will gather their final data because most folks don't have all of that by the end of June. And we will get, feedback from them on their overall experience. And with that, we have reached our closing time. So a few closing announcements before we get into gratitude in the feedback form. One, this is just another plug for alumni coaching. We still have seats available for next year. If you are interested or you know someone that should be interested, tell them, tell your leaders if you think that they are a good candidate for it. They just need to email me. It is a great opportunity, a great way to keep their momentum building. Another exciting and new opportunity that we are offering, you'll see this in the Alumni Quarterly that's coming out this week, but you get the hot goss fresh from TMZ here. We are offering specialized coaching in talent and finance next year. And so this applies to you and or anybody in the AMA community. But if you're an alumni that is interested in working in partnership with your talent or your finance leader, even if they're not an AMA alum, to align your hiring and talent processes or finance systems through the lens of all kids, we are offering this specialized coaching starting next year. And so it's really personalized support to help folks achieve their goals. And it leverages both the AMA adaptive and technical strategies along with the expertise of a specialized coach. And those two specialized coaches are on the screen. You know, Soraya, she is going to be doing our talent coaching. And then you may or may not know Davis. He is an incredible AMA teammate supporter. He ran our finance leaders pilot program, incredible wealth of knowledge. So excited for Davis and Soraya to offer this as a service. And if you want to know more information, you can email me directly. And with that, we are at the point of gratitude for one another. Please take a moment and drop a note of gratitude in the chat, or if you feel compelled, come off mute and interrupt me and put it in the space. Always happy to hear those voices as well. But I'll give you a moment to drop a note of gratitude for somebody that pushed your learning or lived our values. Thanks for kicking us off, Jonathan. Thanks, y'all. Keep putting the love in the chat and make sure you read the love that's going in there for you. Always appreciate this group and always feel uplifted when I leave. So we will come together for our final coach community in June from, yep, I was like 9 to 11:30. That's not right. Yep, that's correct if you're in California. But for those of us on the East Coast, it will indeed still be 12 p.m. to 2:30 in June. We will come together to wrap out our coach community for this year. Supporting tools from today can all be found in the consolidated links, which you have. So everything from today that you might need to support your leader. Other two places to look would be the hub and the artifact dashboard. And then we're going to give you extra time today on the survey for a couple of reasons. One, these monthly executive sponsor updates are really helpful in us sharing notes in those executive sponsor meetings. So we want to make sure that you've got enough time today to leave those for this month. In addition, you'll see a couple of extra questions in the survey today just about coach community for next year. One is just gauging, again, folks' interest in continuing to be part of coach community and your capacity for coaching next year. And then there's also a question where we're soliciting feedback from you all. We've had multiple conversations so far with a couple of different people. As we're thinking about next year in coach community planning, we want to get creative and think about what are the ways to make it as easy as possible for coaches to attend coach community. We realized this year we extended it for an important reason. We needed the extra time to practice, and we know that that has made it harder for some folks to be in attendance monthly. And so we've put a few options that we've crowdsourced for what might feel most supportive for attending coach community. And I've also got a place in there for other. So want to get your feedback on the two ideas we have on the table, and then also a space for you to add a third idea. Because again, we know that this is such a critical part of the work, both in keeping us aligned on what's going on in programming and what we're all moving towards, but also to sharpen our practice. And we want to do our best to make sure that everybody can be in attendance as consistently as possible. So you'll see those questions in the survey as well, so that we can get your input as we are shaping the plan for next year. And with that, we're going to drop the feedback survey in the chat. And for maybe the first time in the history of ever that I've ever done anything, I actually ended 5 minutes even earlier than I intended. So you've got plenty of time to fill out that survey before you head out for the rest of your day. So thank y'all in advance. Go ahead, Bond.
Thank you, JB. I was just going to ask Lizzie if you would break out
JS.
when you're done. Yes, JS. Lizzie, can I see you in a breakout room when you're done? I just need your help on something for Love for Susanna.
Yes.
Great. Thanks, y'all. If I knew how to play audio,
Sending me there, Bond.
but I don't.
Do you want me to come to a breakout room with you?
No, just Lizzie. I'm trying not to break the session, so just give me a second, Lizzie.
Survey link.
Oh, yeah. Y'all are all looking at us like you said you dropped the survey link and we're
It's in
just
the
all...
consolidated links, but we'll also drop it.
We don't have access
don't
to the
have
one in
access to it.
consolidated links.
Oh,
You don't?
I think you might have given us the
I'm fixing
Collaborator
the
link.
response collaborator link versus the actual survey link.
Listen,
y'all, in your survey, you can put Bond doesn't do ops, and it's totally warranted.